And welcome to Hannity. In just 24 hours from right now, the one and only scheduled presidential debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris will take place. You can watch it right here on the Fox News channel. But unfortunately, it is being moderated by ABC Disney. Barring some kind of political miracle, this debate will not be fair. ABC Disney is officially a woke left-wing organization. ABC News, they have been openly rooting for Kamala Harris. For example, David Muir is one of the moderators. Look at this new study, just happened to come out, Media Research Center. His coverage of Kamala Harris on ABC World News Tonight, 100% positive since the day she became the candidate. 100%. Coverage of Donald Trump, 93% negative. And another anchor for ABC Disney is George Stephanopoulos. Now, he's been Clinton's former attack dog, who ABC has now rebranded a hard news journalist. He is anything but. He is a left-wing radical talk show host masquerading like most in the media mob as a journalist. And yet another anchor for ABC is someone named, remember Martha Raddatz? She cried. She was very upset on air when Donald Trump won in 2016. Let us be clear. The deck tomorrow will be stacked against former President Trump, kind of as per usual. You can see when left-wing politics takes over programming, well, the results are a disaster. We just learned this week Fallon lost one day of his show, late night comedy, if you want to call it comedy, and his show is tanking in the ratings. So is Colbert's show, and so is ABC Disney's Kimmel show. They're all failing. Kimmel has even said late night comedy is coming to an end. Why is it coming to an end? They're not funny, and they're hardcore politically left. They say, we don't care about the rest of the country. Maybe Bob Iger and his left-wing heir apparent, maybe they don't want half the country to attend their theme parks. Maybe they don't care about their tanking stock price, which is their prerogative. They're free to make that choice. But if they are biased against Donald Trump, as they have been leading into tomorrow night, as their nightly newscast is, half the country is not going to like it one bit. They're not going to like ABC Disney one bit either. But it's not just the left-wing moderators at far-left ABC News. Now, if Kamala Harris shows up tomorrow night with a pulse, everyone in the state-run media mob, oh, my gosh, she's not Joe. She actually put two sentences together that she rehearsed for days and days and days and days. They will declare her the clear winner. And by the way, there are even people saying that Joe Biden won the last debate. And with, of course, the far-left bias at ABC, it is highly unlikely Kamala is going to be pressed about her radical positions. You know, her long-held beliefs that anonymous aides are now telling us that she no longer supports. She's been for open borders, immigration, sanctuary cities forever. But now all of a sudden she's changing her mind, hated borders forever. In other words, the beliefs that she has held for years and years and still really does hold, but is just lying through her campaign staff in order to win an election. But don't take my word for it. Here's Kamala's longtime Senate ally. She supported the government health care for all bill, no private health insurance bill with Bernie Sanders, and the radical $93 trillion Green New Deal, again, co-sponsored with Bernie Sanders. Let's listen to Bernie on this topic.
You have described Vice President Kamala Harris as a progressive. She has previously supported Medicare for all. Now she does not. She's previously supported a ban on fracking. Now she does not. These, Senator, are ideas that you have campaigned on. Do you think that she is abandoning her progressive ideals?
No, I don't think she's abandoning her ideals. I think she's trying to be pragmatic and doing what she thinks is right in order to win the election.
Pragmatic to win, lie to win. Bernie Sanders stumbled on the truth there, and he said the secret part openly there. There is zero chance that you will hear the truth from Kamala on that debate stage tomorrow night. That I can promise you. Her rehearsed lines will be all gibberish and nonsense and running away from all of her past words. The brand new policy section of her own website is more of a wish list full of vague hopes and dreams without any details or actual plans. Luckily, nearly all of Kamala's long-held beliefs, we have them all on tape. We call them the Kamala files. We have the Walls files for a running mate. It's on Hannity.com. You can send it to your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers, put it on social media. So tonight, I'm going to dedicate the rest of my monologue to helping Bob Iger's ABC Disney and ABC News. I'm going to do the research for them so they know the questions to ask for the debate, the ones that Americans need answers to in this very critical time, this inflection point in our country. And it's just simply Kamala in her own words. Now, since Kamala first served as border czar under Biden, let's start with the vice president's views on immigration. She told us for 3+ years the border was secure. And she never went there, but she never went to Europe, as nearly 11 million unvetted Biden illegal immigrants, including murderers and rapists, people committing violent crimes, and hundreds with terror ties, have come into our country. We don't know where those people are, by the way. Take a look.
Would you call the border secure?
I think that there is no question that we have to do what the president and I asked Congress to do. Is the first request we made: pass a bill to create a pathway to citizenship. The border is secure.
You're confident this border is secure?
We have a secure border in that is a priority for any nation, including ours and our administration.
Oh, well, ABC Disney asked that. As it turns out, Kamala doesn't really care about border security. She never has and never will. You decide.
It's the height of irresponsibility for the commander-in-chief to suggest that we have to build a wall across our southern border because there are terrorists who are trying to invade the country. It couldn't be farther from the truth.
On the subject of transnational gangs, let's be perfectly clear. The president's medieval vanity project is not going to stop them.
You support giving universal health care, Medicare for all, to people who are in this country illegally?
Let me just be very clear about this. I am opposed to any policy that would deny in our country any human being from access to public safety, public education, or public health, period. Now, we've got to critically re-examine ICE and its role and the way that it is being administered and the work it is doing, and we need to probably think about starting from scratch.
Hundreds of Harris-Biden illegals with terror ties are in the country. We don't know where they are. She's offering free housing, health care, education, and a path to citizenship. That would be called, let's see, amnesty, if you're guessing at home. Now, but whatever you do, under Harris administration, don't dare say the word illegal alien or radical Islamic terrorism. You need to be courageous. Take a look.
You must have the courage to object when they use that term, radical Islamic terrorism, which ignores how Muslims have overwhelmingly been the greatest victims of terror. And we must also have the courage to reject that term illegal alien. I have seen some of the worst of criminal behavior. I have seen the worst of crime. An undocumented immigrant is not a criminal.
Don't dare utter those words. By the way, Bob Iger, ABC Disney, what would Tim Russert do? What would David Brinkley do? What would Peter Jennings do? They'd ask these questions. What will David Muir do? It's your network, it's your company, it's your stock price, and maybe you don't want half the country going to your theme parks. I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow. And while Vice President Harris wants to decriminalize illegal immigration in every way, she also wants to criminalize legal gun ownership. Here's her plan to confiscate your guns.
What would you do about the millions of, specifically, assault weapons that are already in circulation? What do you do about those?
Well, there are approximately 5 million, to your point, Craig. We have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program. It's got to be smart. We got to do it the right way.
Mandatory, key word. So under Kamala, if her values really haven't changed, she's, well, going to penalize you, law-abiding citizens, for exercising your Second Amendment rights. But if you are a criminal, you break the law, you are in luck. because in 2020, Kamala supported defunding ICE, defunding the police, and she even praised the violent rioters and looters. And she promoted a bail fund after a police precinct was burned to the ground 4 days later. Take a look.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
Talk to me about the defund the police movement, and what do you think is the first piece of legislation that should happen towards reforming the police?
So at its essence, Andy, it really, I believe, is about reimagining public safety and how we achieve it.
So, ABC Disney, Bob Iger, do you think that ABC News should be asking these questions tomorrow night? And it gets worse. Kamala also made it a priority to get taxpayer-funded sex change operations for criminals in prison. I didn't make it up. Take a look.
They were standing in the way of surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. And there was a specific case. And when I learned about the case, I worked behind the scenes to not only make sure that that transgender woman got the services she was deserving. So it wasn't only about that case. I made sure that they changed the policy in the state of California so that every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access to the medical care that they desired and need.
So Kamala wants taxpayer-funded sex changes for criminals, fewer police, more riots. They're not going to stop, won't stop. Somebody told Liz Cheney. And at the same time, she wants to grow the size of government to a scale we've never seen before, with new regulations, restrictions, frankly, Marxism, $93 trillion new Green Deal, that bill that she co-sponsored with Bernie Sanders in the Senate.
As President of the United States, I am prepared to get rid of the filibuster to pass a Green New Deal. Leaders have to lead, and
plastic
we can
straws
adapt.
are a big thing right now.
Yeah.
Do you ban plastic straws?
I think we should.
Will you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking your first day in office, adding the United States to the list of countries who have banned this devastating practice?
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yes.
So would you ban offshore drilling?
Yes. And I've, again, worked on that.
No fracking, no drilling, no plastic straws. And here's one other big one. No more private health insurance. Government-run care for all. Take a look.
You support the Medicare for All bill, I think initially co-sponsored by Senator Bernie Sanders. You're also a co-sponsor on it. I believe it will totally eliminate private insurance. So for people out there who like their insurance, they don't get to keep it?
Well, listen, the idea is that everyone gets access to medical care. And you don't have to go through the process of going through an insurance company, having them give you approval, going through the paperwork, all of the delay that may require. Who of us has not had that situation where you got to wait for approval and the doctor says, well, I don't know if your insurance company is going to cover this? Let's eliminate all of that. Let's move on.
So much for the Freedom and Joy Party. No private health insurance. She also has big plans for reparations. Take a look.
Should black people get reparations?
I think there has to be some form of reparations, and we can discuss what that is.
So you might be asking, how does Kamala plan to pay for all these new radical endeavors? Taxes. You pay for it. Take a look.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is new darling of the party. She officially has more Twitter followers than Nancy Pelosi. She was on 60 Minutes this weekend, proudly calling herself a radical. And she's promoting policies like saying that every single carbon emission in the country, every car, should be eliminated within the next 11 years, everything from a 70 to 80% tax rate. Do you agree that she could possibly, in this ideology of the socialist left, could splinter your party?
No. You know, I think that she is challenging the status quo. I think that's fantastic. I think that she is introducing bold ideas that should be discussed.
But we've got to increase the corporate tax rate. We also have to increase taxes for the top 1%. And that part of that is going to be about repealing that tax bill that they just passed. And also looking at estate taxes are going to have to go up.
And unrealized capital gains. Make no mistake, taxes will go up on every American if she is elected. This includes young Americans just starting out. But according to Kamala, they're too stupid to have any clue what's going on anyway. Take a look.
What's the other thing we know about this population? And it's a specific phase of life. Remember, age is more than a chronological fact. What else do we know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid. That is why we put them in dormitories, and they have a resident assistant. They make really bad decisions.
That was a really dumb thing to say, in my view. Apparently, she thinks 18 and 24-year-olds are stupid. And here she is praising Bidenomics and lying about inflation. Take a look.
Was it wrong to consider inflation transitory? I mean, these price spikes seem like they're going to be with us for a while.
We have to address the fact that we got to deal with the fact that folks are paying for gas, paying for groceries, and need solutions to it. That is called Bidenomics. That is called Bidenomics, and we are very proud of Bidenomics. And as today's jobs numbers make clear, Bidenomics is working.
A little over a year ago. She's saying the opposite now, and of course, she owns Bidenomics and Biden inflation. She played a critical role in the Biden-Harris administration. In fact, according to her, she was usually the last person in the room with President Biden during any important policy decision, like the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, which we learned today that our allies and many in our military did not want them to do because it was dumb. Take a look.
President Biden always said that he wants you to be the last person in the room, particularly for big decisions, just as he was for President Obama. He just made a really big decision, Afghanistan.
Yes.
Were you the last person in the room?
Yes.
And you feel comfortable?
I do. And I'm going to add to that. This is a president who has an extraordinary amount of courage.
13 Americans died. 13. And many Americans were abandoned behind enemy lines. Ironically, Kamala's favorite phrase doesn't apply to her. Take a look.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know?
What can be
unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
Unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. Unburdened by what has been.
Let us remain focused on what many of you have heard me say all the time. Let us remain focused on what can be, unburdened by what has been.
If Bob Iger's Disney, ABC News Disney, does its job, she will most definitely be burdened by what has been. She's burdened by her role in the Biden-Harris administration, burdened by her long-held radical beliefs in her own words. She's burdened by her lackluster track record as a political opportunist. And tomorrow night, she faces another burden, no teleprompter, but Kamala, she's on home turf at ABC News with moderators who want her to win. Barring any kind of political miracle here, it will be 3-on-1 against Donald Trump all night. And all that we showed you, ABC has an obligation to get answers to because the election is in 57 days. Early voting, ballots have gone out in states already. Early voting starts 1 week from tomorrow in Pennsylvania, rolls out quickly around the country. But after the debate, we will hold Kamala accountable. The media will say she strung 3 sentences together. She wins. She wins. We'll be in the spin room. We'll be in Philly. We'll have our cheesesteak in the afternoon, and we will expose her radical agenda every night until election night. The question tomorrow, will ABC News be a news organization, or will they be, as they have been on ABC, World News Tonight? Are they going to be 100% pro-Kamala, 93% negative Trump? And if Disney's comfortable with that, what is Disney saying to people that hold different views? What are they saying to the country? Is that the type of organization that half the country is going to want to support? Is there a reason why late-night television hosts are all failing? Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.